Hey guys.
Hi, Kelly.
Coffee, cheers.
Cheers. How are you?
Last time I saw you, it was a year ago. We had an amazing day on the beach. And then we saw Backstreet Boys.
It was a great day.
So what do you want to talk about?
Today, I wanted to talk about girls in STEM.
Tell me a little bit about it.
So I work with promoting STEM education in girls. And we do that because there's this huge gap between boys and girls in the STEM field now. STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Sometimes people call it STEAM with an A in it, and that refers to the arts too.
Are there certain fields where there are like particularly fewer women?
Yeah, the National Science Foundation, they've been putting out a survey for years. What they're finding is that the numbers of women in STEM, they are increasing, but they still remain fairly low. Women are about half of the workforce in the United States, but they still only make up about 1/3 of the careers in STEM. So right now, women are at 29% of the STEM careers in the US. If you break it up by the different areas of study, you see different proportions. So like engineering is one that's typically really low. It's about 16% right now. Computer is also low. If we look at the physical sciences, that's pretty low too. So these are all areas where we just see this underrepresentation of women.
So I was looking at that actually myself the other day. Computer science seems to be the one where there's the fewest, and I feel like it's actually going down. It depends, I guess, what degree, right? Because when I was looking at computer science, that was just for bachelors.
Yeah, and what I was talking about too was in the actual workforce and not degrees. STEM degrees is another thing too. Women and men have about the same amount of undergraduate degrees. Still, when we look at STEM degrees, women have 30% of the STEM degrees.
So for life sciences, women are about half. Things like neuroscience, microbiology, ecology, biochemistry. But yeah, engineering and computer science seems to be the lowest.
Also, you see this change in girls from about ages 8 to 11. So that's when you start to see it.
So what's happening before this age and what happens after?
Well, before this age, they're just starting to be affected by socialization factors at school and things like that. At about this age, this is like when they've been immersed in school in a while, they're really taking on the culture. 8 to 11 is when they start to lose interest and confidence in STEM. And so they stop really pursuing it.
Can you talk a little bit about your background?
Oh yeah, I have a master's in evolutionary anthropology, and I worked as a researcher for a number of years. I worked at places like the Max Planck Institute in Germany, Yale University, at Arizona State. I worked with social cognition, and I worked with a wide range of subjects, so monkeys, great apes, and then I started working with children. And then that's kind of where I started to change paths, and I moved from research to informal education. And I particularly love promoting STEM education. Like right now, I work at the Children's Creativity Museum in San Francisco, California, and one of the things we do there is promote STEM. I've also worked at the San Francisco Zoo in their education department, and STEMful, which is a startup in San Francisco.
What are these educational programs trying to do exactly? Are they trying to increase interest?
Yeah, a lot of it is being able to encourage that interest, exploration. Big thing in teaching children now is hands-on learning movement, where we know now that kids are better at learning and at picking up things if they're not being taught at, but rather we work through an experiment together. We ask a question and then we figure out the answer together.
Ooh, do you have any opinion about educational games? They're called serious games.
Like video games?
Yeah, there's a subset of games. There's a new game in the works with somebody I know that's trying to teach kids about COVID transmission.
Yeah, I think that it's a good way of using screen time with a kid.
So when you're talking about this hands-on, what does it look like? Do you get like a science kit? Parents can buy them and give it to their kid and they create something like an engineering project.
That's a great example of one. And it can also just be stuff found at home, engineering something out of recycled materials, stuff like that. And I also work with the National Girls Collaborative Project, which is a nationwide organization that's all about promoting girls' interest in STEM. I'm their Girls Advisory Board Manager, and it's this group of young girls that they have who are all interested in pursuing careers in STEM, and we just help give them the tools, resources, maybe provide them with a mentor so that they can succeed.
So matching them with role models, I'm assuming.
Yeah, role models is a big one. Yeah, so the interest is there for them, and we just want to keep it alive because we have girls from a wide range of places, all sorts of backgrounds, and some don't come from the places where they have the resources, support, or the people to look up to where they can start to really grow.
So we're talking a little bit about girls losing some interest at some point. Can you talk a little bit more? What are these societal influences at that age?
Yeah, what the research shows is that it's not due to an innate ability, but it's really due to the societal and environmental factors. So things like they don't really have role models to look up to, so they're not identifying that they can be somebody in STEM. There's cultural conditioning through media, there's all these stereotypes, even teachers' biases that can be unconscious. Studies have found that teachers do talk to boys and girls differently. And then the factors that we were talking about, they have these real effects on children that lead to decrease in confidence in STEM, less support at home or by peers or at school even.
I was so fascinated by research that stereotypes and perceptions of not just people, but different fields are really important. So when people think of certain fields as being more dependent on brilliance or naturally having talent for something, they think male. And so the more likely they think of a field dependent more on brilliance versus hard work, they think more masculine. And that means that you can change that, because if you talk about success, like, oh, you just always had a thing for math, but versus work hard, you study hard, you're going to be great. You can literally reprogram that kind of thinking.
Yeah, this growth mindset, the idea that you can learn to overcome struggles and obstacles. Interesting that you bring it up, because there's also a difference between girls and boys. You were talking about with that kind of innate thing that girls thought that they either were good at math or they weren't. So for girls, if they were experiencing trouble figuring out something, then they blame it on themselves and think that, well, I just can't do this, I'm not good at math, rather than, oh, I can work at it and I can be good at it.
So Kelly, what are some of the strategies to change this?
I do have a couple strategies that come from proven methods. So the NGCP that I work with, they also work with Sci Girls, which is a PBS series. They came out with a list of a couple strategies. I'll just bring up a couple of my favorite ones. One is that when we teach STEM or we offer like a STEM experience to girls or to young kids, this works for boys as well, we need to make it connect with their lives. So it's not just some abstract concept, but that they can really apply it. Another one is that we need to empower girls to embrace struggle. So kind of like what you and I were talking about before with this growth mindset, when you work in STEM, outside of STEM also, you're going to have struggles. We don't need to think of it, okay, well now I guess I'm bad at this. This growth mindset tells us that we can practice working through challenges and get better at overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
Another strategy is to encourage STEM identity. So like we were talking about stereotypes before, if you think of a scientist in your head, who do you think of? We kind of want to, for young girls of any background, to see themselves as a scientist, mathematician, engineer, whatever one day. So this strategy is all about encouraging girls that they are what somebody in STEM looks like. That's what STEM looks like.
There's a whole movement on social media to have scientists take pictures, selfies. Just having those images of people who look like you, super powerful.
Especially for young girls of color. The last strategy that I really like is providing young girls with the opportunity to interact with role models, letting girls see that there are people in the field that look like them. So the NGCP, we also work with another organization called FabFem, which is basically a database of all these really amazing women working in STEM. They're all there to be role models that girls can reach out to.
So if you imagine a 10-year-old girl is watching this video right now, what would you tell her?
I would say follow your interests. Know that these struggles, they're embedded in our society. They have all these effects around you. And so you will be faced with struggles, but you shouldn't doubt your confidence or your ability. Just keep working hard and know that there are resources, there's places that want to support and help you, like the NGCP, like FabFem, that there's people out there who want to help you succeed because you are somebody who belongs in STEM.
If I could add, science is so fun, so cool. It's kind of silly, but one of the reasons I went into a PhD program is because I saw so many movies about exciting stuff happening and the government needing scientists. I was hoping it's an alien situation where an alien race comes and they're like, oh, we need an anthropologist, and here I am. So I thought it was cool to be intelligent. Kelly, what would you love to learn more about?
Astrophysics.
Is there something specific?
That's a good question. Like, when I think of astrophysics, I think of like time traveling. I read this book by Stephen Hawking. From my memory of it, was time not being such a linear concept that it can fold back on itself. Maybe there's when you can have these like jumps in time.
Now I'm excited to. Now I have to find that person. Kelly, love what you're doing right now, and
I love talking with you.
cheers.
Cheers.